Well, it's finally January 1st. It's Sunday. And what's funny about that is that last week it never occurred to me that Christmas was actually on Sunday. So I had all kind of trouble leading up to Christmas. And then I had the same trouble this week, or at least, the week that's ending, where Friday I had no idea what the date was. And I was invited to go to a dinner for New Year's Eve. And I said, so what time do you want me there Sunday? And I got a text back saying, actually New Year's Eve is Saturday. And then I had to put that in my mind. So this is weird. I'm not used to the holidays. Probably nobody is used to the holidays being on a Sunday and then actually having the Monday off. Totally thrown off. And it turns out I have to remember to put the garbage out because they still pick up the garbage on Monday, even though for a lot of businesses it's a holiday. We'll throw that out. Still, January 1st, I said in my last video that I was going to be talking about some of my goals for 2023 and different things I was going to do. And that's what I'm going to do. So I want to do a first reflection on how this year went, or how 2022 went. And I got to tell you, overall, it was not a good year for me mentally. My mother passed away September 2021 on my birthday. Thank you very much. But I expected that was going to happen on that day. And I spent the rest of 2021, crying a lot and basically laying down in bed a lot, but also coming up with what I was going to try to do in 2022. And then 2022 came, and I had to deal with the 6-month anniversary. See, I'm one of these numbers people. I just remember numbers, which is odd that I couldn't remember the holidays, but I remember a lot of dates. So first I had to deal with Mom's birthday, which was in February. And then I had to deal with the actual 6 months. Then I had to deal with Mother's Day. And then I had to deal with the fact that it was the 20 years ago on Father's Day, of all things. If anything, my parents made sure there were specific things that I was going to remember them by. But my dad passed away on Father's Day in 2002. So I had to deal with that. I had just had to deal with a whole lot of mental stuff. I had some days where, I had a lot of days when I didn't leave the house, but I had more days where I didn't want to leave the house. And so I didn't. I had some days where I didn't eat much. I didn't have many where I overate. But being diabetic, if you undereat, a lot of times, if you're still taking your medication, you wake up during the middle of the night and you have these lows. So your glucose, because that's the word I use, it drops. You feel miserable. You now have to eat something to try to bring it up. And sometimes it takes up to 3 hours to get back to sleep. That was miserable. I had that happen a lot for a while until I gained some kind of control. So that wasn't cool. But as the year has gotten closer to the end, I have kind of recovered from some of those things, but there's still some other stuff I need to do. However, I did accomplish 2 big things in 2022. One of those things is that I had started working on a revenue cycle training site, healthcare revenue cycle training site, which means nothing to almost anybody who's watching this. But one of my backgrounds, my major background, is in healthcare finance. So I've done everything that was possible to do in healthcare finance, at least up to, I'll say 2005, 2006. Even though I became a consultant in 2001, I was still doing some newer things. There's a lot more new things now that I would probably have to pick up on, but based on 39 years being in the industry, I think I would probably pick it up fast, because overall a lot of things haven't changed. So I accomplished that site. Now I had to build the site, and basically I could use some WordPress software, which worked out well. I had to create content. I had to set up an autoresponder, and that was really the biggest problem I had. I went with a company called MailerLite, which worked out kind of well once I could figure it out. And I had a guy working at MailerLite who was supposed to be helping me. It turned out that in the end, I had to figure out how to use it after 5 weeks. He would throw some stuff in there and I'd say, okay, how's it working for you? And then he disappeared for a while. He'd pop back up, he'd disappear. And it was just one of those kind of things where, oddly enough, I had 3 nights in a row where I woke up and I had an idea, and I put the idea in place and it worked. So I figured out how to use that. I still have some things I had to change because it turns out that the software I was using trying to find tutorials was for the previous year. That seems to happen a lot. The same thing happened with my editing software, which is why I still haven't figured that out, because online all the tutorials are for the software version before mine and nothing for the one I have. That's just how that goes. Anyway, I created that, and then another thing is I knew I had to improve my sleep. So I had Mom who lived with me for, a little over 4 years, and it was just tough. I had, different types of things. When my ex left, basically I wasn't sleeping much at all. I was averaging between 3 and 4 hours of sleep a night. When Mom would go to adult daycare, every once in a while I would go back to bed and sleep for a couple more hours, but not all that often. So I knew that coming into 2022, I needed to figure out how to sleep better. And what got me there eventually was ibuprofen PM. So I basically went from, averaging about 3.5 to 4 hours to my goal, which was 6 hours of sleep a night. And it took a while. And even though I have reached that, for instance, in the month of December, I had 19 days where I slept more than 6 hours. I had 12 days where I slept less than 6 hours. A couple of those, 3 of those were less than 4 hours. That's not necessarily good. But taking an ibuprofen PM pill is also not good because it just left me drowsy all day long. So I'm trying to find something different for that. There's this thing that's called tart cherry extract, and it comes in a capsule version and it comes in a liquid version. Mitchell ain't doing nothing with tart. So I got the pills and they help me fall asleep, but they don't help me stay asleep. And then I had problems with my leg, and I still have problems sleeping, with the leg. So I wake up during the night, and that's miserable sometimes. And I have to do all kind of adjusting to try to minimize the pain so I can get back to sleep. But at least I'm sleeping better. So things are progressing. But I still have a long way to go. So what am I going to do for 2023? Well, first, I'm sharing a link down below. Last year I set something up where there was something called the Live Your Life. It was a 30-day workbook where you could try to answer all these questions over the course of 30 days. And, you could do them all at once if you wanted to, but that's not really going to help, because the idea is you write some stuff down, then you have time to think about it, then the next day you come to something else, and eventually things start to merge. That's the idea. I did that last year, and I actually followed that for about, I'll say, a month and a half. And then at a certain point, it just didn't go anymore. But that month and a half was longer than the first time I did it back in 2019. Anyway, it's a PDF. I'm going to link to it. If you decide you want to check it out, you can. No obligations. But at least I got to something like that. So this year, what I've decided to do is I'm not going to do that challenge, but I'm still going to use my planners. And last year, I put up a red planner for something I was going to do. This is not red. This is burgundy. But they don't have all the exact same colors every single year. The only color they have every year is black. And they have these different things that they do. I was irked that I couldn't get red, but burgundy's not bad. And I don't know if you can read the sticker that says "Take the Leap." Because every year, except for me last year, you get a sticker that you can put on there. And to me, I just stuck it on there because it just changes things up. And what I did with last year's planner is I put a lot of stickers in it and I added colors of sorts. So this is last year's planner. You can see red. And just to show you a page. So you can see I add some stickers. There's one, that one there. Boy, it's hard to do this backwards, but anyhow, there that is. I had another sticker. I had my plans. I bought 3 different color pens. I wished I had 4, but I don't like green, and that's the only other color they had, so I'm stuck with 3. But I have markers that I can write things in, and if I completed everything on a day, I bought star stickers. So I had some of those. I didn't always use them because sometimes I just totally forgot, but I did accomplish some things. So this showed me that I would use the planner if I added some color to it. And that's something I mentioned late 2021. Yeah, late in 2021, when I said that even though I've been buying planners every single year, I wasn't using them. Well, this year, this year I actually used them. Goodness, now I'm going to have trouble with the dates. 2022, I used it. I used it a lot. I probably had maybe 3 or 4 weeks where I didn't use it. Mental. You know, I have to tell you the truth. I've had issues with depression for a long time, but it never bothered me much. It didn't stop me from doing anything until 2022. But, you know, things really got kind of bad. And it was just one of those kind of things. It's like, okay, you know what? You got to kind of forgive yourself. You know, you had trauma. I mean, you know, I was sitting right next to my mother when she passed away on my birthday. And when the police left and the EMT people left, it was basically me and my friend Kelvin, thank goodness for him, who sat with my mother because they left her there because it took 2.5 hours before the mortuary people came, or the funeral home people came. But I had to be with her. I just felt that. So, you know, that's a horrible image. I mean, for anyone who has to watch their relatives pass away, it's a horrible thing. I had to watch my dad pass away, but he was in the hospital, and they took care of, you know, a whole lot of stuff. We didn't just stay in the hospital that entire time. We ended up staying in the hospital maybe 30 minutes before we left. But, man, you know, I mean, I'm not going to get into any of the rest of the stuff because that's just depressing. And I'm sure that some people who might watch this have been through the same kind of thing. But anyhow, I've got, like I said, this is last year's planner. This is this year's planner. This year's wall calendar, which I have one over there. I always buy a wall calendar. That way I can put appointments and such that I have on there. So if I'm supposed to meet someone out for a meal, or if I've got doctor's appointments over there, because it's right next to me, I can put it on there. It's bigger. I'll still see it in the planner, but it doesn't hurt to have that. And then I have I have my Peanuts calendar. I buy one every year, and I keep that one in the bathroom. I don't know why. Actually, I do know why. Because when my ex was here, she bought all kind of calendars and put them all over the place, and I decided I wanted one in the bathroom because it's my bathroom. So I have this one. I haven't taken down last year's Peanuts calendar yet, but Snoopy is one of my favorites of all time. So there you go. So I have that. And then one of the things I did last year was I said I'm going to start writing down early all the goals that I have for 2022. So I had business goals, I had personal goals, I had house goals. And the thing is, I put them all on the same sheet of paper, and I never looked at it again until 2 weeks ago when I said, you know what, I got to write all my plans down again. And then I opened up this thing and said, God, I did this last year, and I never looked at it. So this year, what I decided to do is I ripped the papers out. Okay, I didn't rip them out. You know, they just came out kind of nicely. And they're big. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep these underneath my planner, which I kept on my desk all year long, so that I can look at these things. And I'm also going to write some of these into the planner every week so that I can see what my idea was and where I want to go. So, for instance, here's my sheet for business goals. And the business goal that I have, the main one, is, and I have to lift my glasses to read. This is just what happens. You start getting older. So I said I wanted to spend, 3 hours a day. I wrote that down. 3 hours a day, marketing and searching and doing whatever. And I wanted to do that 3 days a week. Well, I started that last week, and it turns out doing it 3 days a week is not going to happen. So if I don't have a gig at that present time, once a week, it's going to happen on a Monday, and there you go. So there's that one. And then I had my personal goals. And the main one I put down is financial stability. And I think that everybody should be thinking about financial stability unless you're already financially stable, in which case you'll find something else. But, you know, you will have those people who will lie to you, and they're lying when they said that money isn't everything. Well, actually it is. Money is security. Money allows you to donate to other people. Money gives you freedom. I mean, really, those are the three big things that everybody wants in their life. If anyone sits there and tells me that's not anything they want, then they're lying. Someone might say, well, I want romance. Okay. So you meet someone, do you have enough money to maybe go out to dinner or go to a movie? You know, money. I'm not saying you have to be filthy rich, but money does help everything. Just don't overdo it. Don't, you know, fester around that. Don't think that that is everything in the world, but money's important. Financial stability is important. So I have that, and then I have the house stuff, which I thought, oh, here it is. So, nope, that's business goals. House goals. I did have it in me. So, the thing that I put down for the house, and this is going to sound weird to, okay, it's going to sound weird to some people, but it's not going to sound weird to everyone else. My biggest goal for the house is to keep the kitchen clean. Overall, I kept the kitchen cleaner than I was used to doing. But what I started doing is that every time I cook something, if I can, I wash everything else before I go to eat, or once I've eaten, I go in the kitchen and I wash everything else. So I don't leave the kitchen dirty anymore. I had periods where sometimes I left the kitchen dirty for about 5 days. I'll own up to that. I would put water in anything. I never had to worry about bugs. I didn't have food laying around, whatever. I took care of that part. But I decided I needed to set some kind of standard. And so I keep the kitchen clean all the time. Most mornings I start the day with a bagel and I make iced tea. So the bagel, I need a knife. I started using paper plates so I didn't have to wash the plate every day. I needed a cup so I could stir the tea, but then I wash it all. I wash the cup, I wash the spoon, I wash the knife. I do that throughout the entire day. If I make something that I need the skillet for, I wash all of that stuff. Most of the time after I eat, because sometimes, like if I make spaghetti sauce, I make a bunch of spaghetti sauce. Well, that now involves getting a container to put it all in and some other stuff. And if I've made some extra something else, then I have to put that in the container. I decide to eat first, then I go in, I take care of all the containers, and then I wash everything. It's just nice having something that I know that I've stuck to for so long. But I have a lot of house goals. And then I have what I wrote down, which I didn't have last year, which says everything else that doesn't fit. So one of the things I wrote down, because it doesn't fit anywhere else, is be fearless. Don't dwell on worry. That's going to be a big deal for me this year. I don't want to worry about stuff. It's going to happen, but you don't stay on that. You know, if you're worried all the time, then you don't progress, you don't do anything. You pretty much sit around and listen to sad music. At least, oh, music, by the way. Let me throw that in there. I put sad music, but that's not quite accurate. Early on in the year, that was accurate. But around September, it hit me that they got this thing called ambient music. And they have all different forms. I have a friend whose first name is actually Mitchell. As a matter of fact, I shared a video where I talked about doing KDP and a puzzle book that he had created earlier this year, or earlier in 2022. I'm going to have to get used to that. Anyhow, one of the things he told me is like he listens to ambient music, but he likes the jazz ambient music. Well, I'm not necessarily a jazz guy. I'm not just the guy who wants to just hear sounds. So I downloaded ambient music that I was kind of familiar with already. So I downloaded ambient music from Harry Potter, from the Narnia movies, from Lord of the Rings, and it's been wonderful because people put these things together. It's softer, there's no singing, you know. With some of the Potter things, there are a few upbeat periods of time, like, you know, when they play some of the Christmas music that they had in the movies, that's a little more upbeat, but it's so much different than the soundtrack. It's just, there's no singing. And I said, yeah, this is really nice. And so that's what I started listening to most of the time. And I can listen to that during the day when I'm working. For instance, they have ambient sounds where it sounds like you may be in a library and you hear people scuffling around and doing whatever. Not talking, but you hear scuffling around sounds, whatever. You hear the sounds of people putting books back into, you know, on whatever they call those things, which is something you don't hear as much these days, but you still have that. Or you could have it where maybe you're in an office setting where you hear all the scratching and different things that happen there. They have all kinds of things, but sounds didn't do it for me. Listening to the ambient music means that I could listen to it while I was sitting at my desk. I could listen to it, you know, later in the evening if I decide that I'm just going to walk around and get steps in. This is what I do. I make sure I walk at least 5 miles every day. I've been averaging between 6 and 7. I was averaging 8 to 12 before I started having problems with my leg, so I brought that down, and, you know, that I didn't want to do, but I physically thought it was a smarter thing to do. You know, you just have to find those things that make you comfortable. Things that might help to motivate you. But at least if they make you comfortable, if they make you feel good, if they can help you get past the bad mood, if they can help you get things done, that works out. And that's what I did. So, like I said, I have my goals for the year. One I'm going to be testing within the next couple of days is how to fix this lag that I have. I've done almost everything I could think of, so I'm going to try something else. You know, I mentioned to someone who I know over in the UK that when I check out one of my videos on the TV through the DVD player, everything is perfect. It plays up well. But anywhere else, it doesn't. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, if y'all want to share anything that you're going to try to do, if you have some goals, you know, I will help you as far as, you know, giving you inspiration to keep trying to go. I will help boost you up if you're willing to share it. If not, I just hope you watched. Anyway, my name is Mitch Mitchell. Let's have a great 2023. Y'all take care.